The year 1752, there was a birth by Rachel Stockley of a child named Stockley Donaldson, and he grew up with John Donaldson and Rachel as they began a life of pioneers, stopping off in Franklin County, Virginia, and creating a business called Washington Furnace, and partaking in the House of Burgesses until around the year 1780, and then traveling on to North Carolina and into Tennessee as Stockley grew up and made a decision, one of great valor. He decided to stop on the Cumberland Gap Trail being traveled by his family and claim stake in Crab Orchard, Tennessee. A founding father. To build a community is what he intended to do, just like his father, who went on to build Nashville, Tennessee. John Stockley honored, not John Stockley, John Donaldson honored in the state of Tennessee with the dedication of Donaldson, Tennessee. But Stockley Donaldson created more of a mineral-based farming community there in Crab Orchard and developed one of the most beautiful communities that you could ever imagine, instilling in it great faith, great citizenship, and great people, generation after generation. And it included my grandfather, and his name was James Donaldson. James Donaldson courted and fell in love with the beautiful Frances Donaldson, born Frances Smith, and they had a child named Mary Gale Donaldson, who was my mother, and turned 1 year old and received a beautiful artifact of history, really, that touches on many things in American society, not the least of which is the great sacrifice made by parents of soldiers, as well as soldiers themselves. As you can see from the broadcast letter home, Crab Orchard, Tennessee, May the 2nd, 1944, received probably at the local market, like in Walton's Mountain, where the family goes in and they know the store clerk and they ask for their mail. They received the mail from Private Roy E. Smith, Casual Company 337, 85th Infantry Division, 10 days before he left this world as an American soldier. Let's take a moment to recognize the Smith family of Tennessee for all they have given to us in the United States of America, symbolized on a headstone. In memory of Private Roy E. Smith, I would love to see Kennedy Center honors honor a hero of mine, a good friend, Democratic President Bill Clinton, in Arizona, Senator John McCain. What I would like to do is to have people understand what John McCain was all about. He was more than a soldier. He was a servant of society. Much like the Donaldson family of Tennessee and President Andrew Jackson and Private Roy E. Smith, he served a greater cause in these United States. And he did it with three basic goals in mind. Number one, you build. We shall never be done building the greatest empire known to man in this country, which is our democracy, founded early in the 1700s with things like the Bill of Rights, the Constitution. We want to never forget where it is that we came from. We have dark times that we've built upon, like the Trail of Tears, where we learned that to keep the sovereignty of the Indians and Native Americans in their way of living, we lost a great number of them to ignorance. We want to build upon those experiences as lessons we've learned from history, not to be forgotten, not ever, as signified by the sacrifice in Germany of a soldier from Tennessee named Private Roy E. Smith. We want to reflect on the youth in this country, their valor, their service for the greater good, and the importance of teaching and teachers. The ones who get up in the morning and take over for us as parents and instill all the qualities in our children to become great Americans, like Private Roy E. Smith was on those battlefields where he finally laid down. We want to reach out to teachers to assist them in the times that we can with programs like the U.S. for Hope campaign that was started here in Waynesville, Ohio, to honor civil servants, to honor teachers, and to honor members of our community who reach out to our children when we're not looking and teach them in lessons that sometimes aren't apparent for decades. How to do the right thing, to take the high road, and to do it with manners, to do it correctly, and to make statements like, I would rather stand alone in the truth than in a crowd of deceit. We honor through things that stand the test of time, like the Statue of Liberty, which honors our immigration policies, honors our wherewithal to stand up, to be just in our decisions, to be calculating and concise, and to lend a helping hand to those in the world who struggle, using tools that are out there for our country to administrate our will, our love of God and country, through things like the United Nations, bringing together marketing campaigns for the Olympics to focus on things like Jesse Owens and what it meant to be an American. most didn't see it that way. He won the gold for us. A perfect representative of that time, standing in the face of the Führer and saying, "We are here. We are strong. And we are growing." As we do this, and we reach out at places like the Kennedy Center Honors to respectfully acknowledge the accomplishments of teachers, we need to focus on things that wrecked lives in the United States, like a lack of medicine to the poor, a lack of understanding of stem cell research, a lack of funding from places like the Vatican, who could be more accountable about what we're doing with the monies that are taken in the Lord's name. As we look around at these conglomeration churches, ones that are built on several corners in several nations, we could look at places and things and do some investigating on population and attendees of churches and see if God's money is getting where it needs to be by directing it there. By saying, you know what? God would want to feed these hungry children here at home. So our local churches are going to be open. We're going to donate food. We're going to babysit your children if you're a single parent struggling to find a place that we can hold accountable. To teach our kids the right way of doing things while we're at work and not have to worry about things that have happened in the past. Smoking mirrors or holding people accountable for breaking the law no matter who they are or what price range their houses are in. Finally, I would like to say that I live in a country that does not accept walls being built to stop a distressed people seeking an opportunity to become the recipients of the benefits that are here in this country, to help in a Christian way to save a child's life who needs medical attention. I would like to say that we're not that simple-minded as to build a wall from people who are running with their families hundreds of miles seeking us in El Paso, San Antonio, Dallas, or any other city in the South, because we all know what happened at the Alamo. We have pushed aggressively with our economic policies against a people on this continent who we like to refer to as Native Americans. You know, they all descended from the Incan, Mayan, and other Native American belief systems. As we can remember the stories of Perez, the stories of Ponce de Leon, and the stories of history outside of ours that helps us to grow as a people, because we begin to understand the power of the differences that unite this country, like the threads on our flag. I've made this statement several times. We cannot just focus on the stars on the flag without seeing the stripes. That means a lot of things to a lot of people. But to me it means that we are beautiful. We are one beautiful country held together by many, many different ingredients. Boys, girls, blacks, whites, yellows, beliefs, Bibles, traditions, and all of that we can exercise in our own homes, our own way. And that's what brought us to America in the first place, as we left in the Ninta, Pinta, and Santa Maria to leave an oppressive dictatorship with a parliamentary-style government that seems to have reformulated right there at Plymouth Rock, as the Irish spread out in the hills, joining the Indians to learn how to cultivate the land and to live like they did. Of course, there were land battles that became intensified by a ever so outreaching government that saw itself start to reach out into the Appalachians and start to inspire a war that started between the English and the Irish that was called the Revolutionary War. One man born in that war lost his parents. And as he did, you can tell he became keen on the evils of man, as they groomed him to be a soldier, inspired by his infancy, inspired by his orphan, inspired by people around him. He became the greatest soldier that we could ask for in the Revolution, going from Franklin County, Virginia. The Donaldsons followed with him. He left from South Carolina and ended up all the way in Shreveport in 1812. When asked for help, he arrived with plenty of it. From the great state of Tennessee, him and his militia stopped that war as it began to blow up, as the English were pushing for more and the South was making their stand. The English sent their battleships out into the harbor, and Jackson put his foot down and said, "No more," as it culminated his disdain for the oppressive English at that time. He fell in love and married my great aunt, Rachel Donaldson, and took the rest of the South in what I like to look at as a collection of thoughts, a belief system that blossomed like their love affair and culminated in Hermitage, Tennessee, only to see the Shakespearean tragedy unfold as Rachel succumbed to life and left as First Lady, because Andrew Jackson had already been appointed the first Democratic president in the United States of America. Luckily, his support system had already seen the future, as she had talked to Andrew Jackson Donaldson and Emily Donaldson about their roles in supporting her husband, as he took his belief system and his militia to Washington, D.C. In a great broadcast called Emily Donaldson, you can see the power of a volunteer. You can see the rise of champions. You can see leadership be born and change. And you can see people make a difference in the world, like my friend, Dan Cerrone, who did what he did in his life, from Louisville to Miami, inspiring us all to seek the truth, to find justice, and to do it the American way, which is honestly. I would like to thank you for listening to my podcast. They're on YouTube. There's many of them that cover things that are beautiful and things that are disgusting, like racism. We want to focus as a people on the positives in life so our children can remember more about our smiles than they can ever remember about our tears. But I hope that our children know as parents that our tears are significant because it means that we've been touched deeply by something. And I have shared many of them. And lately I share them for the Smith family who live in Crab Orchard, Tennessee. And I'll be there soon.